Hi everyone, welcome. I'm down here in my wormery and I got to thinking about what's going on down here. I mean, in the newest of my systems, which in my case are all stored off to the right here, that's with the exception of the Vermibag Mini here. That's definitely my oldest system, but it's perpetual. It doesn't have like a start finish date. So over here, the youngest of my systems, their main job is just to take kitchen scraps, household waste, break it all down. But as you make your way into the older systems, the more mature bins, which in my case are over here on the shelf, you start thinking about the day that you want to harvest their castings, get the worms moved out into a fresh new environment to work on. So in these types of systems, you start thinking about, well, what could I be doing differently? I've come up with these names of phases. So everything that's typical doing the everyday composting thing is composting phase. And that's how everyone begins. But towards the end, maybe I'll be migrating worms. In my case, migration usually just means trying to get the worms to go from one side of the bin to the other. And in preparation for moving the worms out of their castings, you want the castings to be really nice. So I've been getting in the habit of doing something that I refer to as foraging. It's something I spent more time on in the past. I've kind of revived it more recently, and right now I'm kind of undergoing a little transition in terms of how I think about it. So the bins that we're going to be feeding are technically in their pseudo-hybrid phase of foraging, or at least that's the way I referred to it in the title of the video from the last time we checked in on them 13 days ago. But I did a little homework, so I wanted to share that with you. Let's get these systems up on the bench. I'll slip on a glove, and I'll tell you more about it over there. Let's get started. So the homework I was referring to is boiled down to that number over there. 38 days is what I really think now, after doing my homework, that this system has really been, ever since day 199 in service, which was 38 days ago, a few feedings ago, when we gave them a whole bunch of leafy matter as the supplementary bedding to accompany their feeding. And after that time came a couple feedings when we pretty much decided it was foraging time. And it was like, well, what's the definition of foraging? That's what made me bite my lip to question what should I even call it. That's how I came up with this pseudo-hybrid blah blah blah. And that, to me, simply meant I didn't really have a good handle on what, to me, meant, what did I mean by foraging? Because it seemed like the way I'm doing things now in terms of foraging are in conflict with how I had done them in the past. In the past, it just meant nothing new whatsoever. Ignore them for a month or longer, and then all these little things that are still floating around in here, food scraps, bedding bits, you name it, none of this will remain. But more recently, I've changed it a little bit, and I've changed it to include food now. So that's the real crux of it. So just like last time, the main meal plan is going to consist of the coffee and the worm chow. Nice small particle matter food, which will leave pretty much no trace, and that's what we gave them last time. And the other twist to the feeding when I'm doing this new version of foraging, which includes being fed foraging basically, is that I'm not focusing it. That's just sort of a decentralized approach to the feeding, which is different from what I usually do. I usually do a trench down the middle, perhaps on one or the other edge of the system, perhaps even in the corners or something. But around here, it's fairly uncommon practice for me for whatever reason. I'm just noticing now that I very rarely do that thing where you just feed all over the place, So, all right, I've just been dancing around a real plunge down into the systems. At this point, I guess since the top fed coffee worm chow meal they got last time was sort of decentralized, it's fair to expect that we're not going to find any sort of worm party mobbing around any sort of large leftovers from the last check-in, since the last check-in included no leftovers and no focused feeding. I guess the whole idea here would be that you're going to expect to find worms all over the place. It's probably not too unusual to find little pockets of them here and there hanging out. Maybe there is a larger chunk of leftover. Here and there I do bump into something that perhaps emits a little bit of a scent or an odor. I think I might have hit a little piece of citrus. That's what made me say that. So I thought I smelt a little piece of citrus. Perhaps something I bumped into, maybe a little orange peel or something here. Banana stem holding together pretty good, but probably won't continue to hold together very good for very much longer. So yeah, things seem really nice in here. Things are definitely breaking down good. I guess the one pitfall to adding a whole bunch of leafy matter only 38 days ago, a few check-ins ago, is that the leaves themselves get broken down pretty quickly, just that their stems really stick around for quite some time. And in the past, the progress of the stems had been, for me, a little bit of another telltale to say that, yeah, we've gotten to that level of being broken down where there's no residue, no junk floating around in the system anymore. The leaf stems would have to be one of the things that you see no signs of either to make that claim. I must say though, after 38 days, the leaf stem density over here in bin number 1 at least is not bad at all. Alright, let's do a quick similar tilling up of bin number 2. Probably safe to expect very much more of the same. Yeah. For whatever reason, I just think it makes good sense to aerate. We're covered with plastic to keep the system's moisture in place and not be lost to evaporation. Sometimes I just wonder if prolonged covering like that could possibly result in a lack of air flow for the little guys. Maybe someday I'll be able to have bubble wrap covering all my systems, where the bubble wrap does allow a little bit of airflow underneath itself, but for the most part it definitely holds down the moisture that would might, possibly otherwise evaporate away. Yeah, nice busy bins. I like it. Alright, so I'm not sure if I really got to the crux of what my issue was with defining or determining the start date of foraging, but I think the struggle I had trying to document it in a couple of my other systems was, what's the definition for the start? And then it seemed to me like the last feeding, where a substantial amount of bedding material is fed, and after that, if you only give them feedings but no new bedding material to break down, then you're kind of fed. They're doing this fed foraging phase that I refer to it as. So that's my my new concept, and I'm simply tracking it in my tracking spreadsheet as foraging. And this is pretty much carbon copy of what they got fed last time too, except last time I think I even sprinkled in a little bit of grit. Today I'm not adding the grit, just the worm chow and the coffee. And I even wondered if perhaps blending it in would add value. I believe last time I might have actually even gone so far as to add moisture, and I know I've got a little bit of moisture available at my fingertips using my wand here, and I think it was really more about me wanting to leave most of this material in the bin rather than taking it away on my gloves. So I'm adding the moisture that the worm bin probably appreciates out of a sort of a selfish inspired desire to have clean gloves when we end the video. That's good enough. I'll take care of the rest at the sink, but we did get the majority of it off and back into the system, right? Very cool, very cool. So that's pretty much it for our check-in with these little guys. Fed foraging now. Technically, in my spreadsheet that I just corrected about a half hour ago, for the past 38 days. On day 237, it was 199 days of everyday foraging. Everyday composting, which was feedings with bedding. And for the last 38 days, it's fed foraging, which is just feedings only. All right, that's it for the check-in, everyone. Let me know if you agree with my ratings and my tracking, and am I just a little too OCD for your liking? That's fine too. I apologize if that's the case. I'm just me doing me. So that's it for the video, everyone. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, as always, please don't forget to leave me a quick thumbs up before you go. That's always really appreciated. If you haven't done so already, please also consider subscribing to the channel. That's very much appreciated as well. All right, everyone, have a great day. Thanks for watching. Bye now.